What's up, boys and girls? In this video, I want to talk about the recent remake of Halloween. I do feel like I missed the boat slightly when it comes to a review, but since talking to a lot of people, I've discovered that there's several elements of the film that A, people just don't understand why they're in there, and B, thought that it took away from the storyline. So I want to break down a few of the things in the film to explain why they did them, and really whether I thought they were needed or not. Stick around. So you may remember at the beginning of the film, the journalist podcasters that turned up at Jamie Lee Curtis's house and the insane asylum where Michael Myers was being kept. Now, on top of the fact that they were there to introduce some of the key characters and to give a bit of a backstory, there was a key element to their existence, and it is the fact that the filmmakers wanted to use the original Michael Myers mask. So they needed some way of getting that mask back to Michael Myers. And they used the story that the guy knows someone down in the DA's office who loaned him this Class A bit of murder evidence, which is just crazy. No matter how friendly you are with anyone in the police station, certainly as far as I'm concerned in the UK, you would not be able to get your hands on a Class A piece of evidence involved in mass murder, no matter how friendly you are with them. They're not just going to go, yeah, sure, let Jim into the sort of lockup and let him get the Michael Myers mask. He wants to put it on. He wants to try it on for, he's going to scare his kids with it. But without that storyline, there wasn't really a way they could get the original mask back to Michael Myers. I think they could have come up with a better way of getting his mask back to him. I mean, saying that he has a friend in the DA's office allowed him to sort of use this evidence to show you the mask. You can feel it, can't you, Michael? It was just a bit stupid. What they could have done, which would have been just a little bit less lame, is you can now still buy like Ted Bundy and Charles Manson masks if you want to on the internet or whatever. Why not have the Michael Myers mask, because he was famous in that area of town. The next thing I wanted to point out is something that was just not required in the film whatsoever. It added nothing to the film. Was the young girl, Laurie Strode's granddaughter, and her relationship with her friends in high school. There was a part in it where she went to the prom and she loses her phone. Her boyfriend has a row with her boyfriend. He throws it into the punch or something, and she loses her phone. So she can't be contacted by the family, and they're all out looking for her. I mean, there's a bit where she's walking through the woods and she gets to the house. You think, oh no, well, maybe this is now where she's going to get sort of taken by Michael Myers. No, she makes it to the house quite happily. There's that element with her granddaughter in it, I think is necessary, because it's interesting to see how someone of that sort of ordeal back in those days, 40 years later, how that has affected their family overall. But to have the granddaughter's sort of social life included in it was just so much filler bullshit that isn't needed, and she ended up not being part of the film in any way. The third thing really is the psychiatrist. I mean, it's so lame. I mean, it seems like this part was written by one person, the next part was written by another person, and another part, and they just sort of strung them together. And they were fairly successful, but the psychiatrist, Michael Myers' new psychiatrist, the new Dr. Loomis, as Laurie Strode even puts it, was just so much a slap in the face. He has been following Michael Myers for years, and yes, they needed a way for Michael Myers to escape, and he's obviously some sort of extremist person that wants to study the extreme elements of the psyche, the serial killer's psyche, so therefore he helps him escape on the bus at the beginning. But the fact that he kills the policeman with like his pen knife thing that he turns into, stabs him, and then he puts him in Michael Myers in the back of the car, and he knows that he'll come back to life. It's just like, what? How does someone go from being a psychiatrist to to that. It's like they needed a believable way for Michael Myers to escape. That's why he was built into the plot. But then they turned his character into something completely unbelievable and letting him kill some of the main characters of the film. It just seemed like a pointless exercise. All the way through the film, you have a splattering of comedy, and I can only guess that this is sort of Danny McBride's sort of element. Now, I don't want to throw him under the bus, really, because he co-wrote a reasonably good film, and as far as a crack of the whip of a remake goes, this is pretty good. However, the comedy is just not required. In the original, it's supposed to be a direct sequel to the first film and really the second film, but there was no comedy in those films. It was dark all the way through, and it was frightening. And in this one, they, as cute as the little black kid was in this, it just wasn't needed to have the comedy and, you know, and lighten the mood throughout the film like they do in so many horror films now. We wanted to see a Michael Myers on the chase with no sort of drop in the atmosphere whatsoever, and instead they broke it up with a bit of comedy and tried to appeal to some other audience as well. So when I heard about the remake and I seen some of the footage, the trailer footage of Jamie Lee Curtis becoming a survivalist, what I wanted to see was that. It is important to see her family and how the years have taken its toll. You know, the trauma and the sort of PTSD has taken its toll on the family, because that is something that would be obvious that that would happen to anyone. But I wanted to see it, and I wanted to focus it in on her becoming a survivalist and being ready for any eventuality and anything that life's going to throw at her, as well as when Michael Myers inevitably does escape and when she's waiting for it. And really, I wanted it to focus on that. And it could have been quite a quiet film, as in not tons of dialogue, no comedy, no useless filler and backstory and people that are going to help the storyline along. It could have just focused in on her waiting for Michael Myers to appear. And we could have just followed that journey with her learning all the techniques, backstory into how her family, it ruined her family really, but she taught her daughter some of the key survival sort of techniques that she learned and was preparing her whole family for this. And it would have been good just watching her waiting for her moment for Michael Myers to reappear. Some of the things I did think it did very well is it was gory and it was brutal, and it didn't look away from many scenes that are going to be particularly horrifying. It was quite creative in the way he killed people, because he was like that in the originals, sticking people up against the wall and putting a knife through them so that they hang there, or wrapping a telephone wire around their neck, or waiting in the back seat and then cutting their throat. He was quite creative as far as killing his victims, and they did do that again in this film. That he was physically strong, he could bash people's heads in, he took someone's teeth out and dropped them over the bathroom door, toilet stall door. There was many ways that he actually ended up killing people, and even things like the police at the end of the film, where he has just sort of gutted them and stuck a lantern in one of the guys' heads. I mean, that's the sort of thing that we would see in the old films. So overall, the film was most certainly not a bust, and I liked it. Despite all the things that I think were a bit strange and were unnecessary, I liked the film, and it certainly stands up today against some of the remakes we've had in the past. I like the fact that they did find a way to use the original mask. Over the several remakes that we've had some really ridiculous looking Michael Myers masks, and they knew that they couldn't do that again. They had to get the original one. One of the biggest things I liked about this film is that they killed Michael Myers. They trapped him in the basement and they set that bitch on fire. There was no way he survived that. And we all forget that he is kind of a paranormal entity. He can survive things that other people can't. So it doesn't matter if he appears dead at the end of the film. They didn't need to keep it open for a sequel, because if they want a sequel for this film, he will just reappear. The IMDb of this film is 6.7, and I think that is bang on where it needs to be. It's not over a 7, but it is a very, very good remake, and I would definitely say go and watch the film. I hope some of the things that I pointed out about the film has helped you appreciate the storyline more, rather than put you off actually enjoying it. And ultimately, if you did like some of the things that I mentioned in this film, then let me know in the comments, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and notification button so that you can see what we talk about next.